Hello and welcome to episode 177 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and I'm going to report that I watched the Pirates and the Indians on the Major League Baseball Network on Friday night. And it was an odd feeling. I mean, just to see the players sitting in the stands, and I think I get to hear Greg Brown, who is the Pirates' regular broadcaster, so that was a little bit of normalcy. But, the piped-in music and the piped-in crowd noise, when you're hearing that and seeing that there's nobody there, it just seemed odd.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I hopefully I get into it when the game's. This is just an exhibition game, but hopefully I get into it. But it just seemed really odd to me. I don't know. So I'm wondering how I'm going to feel about an NBA game. Although I get to hear the sneakers on the floor a lot, and I'm wondering how I'm going to feel about an NFL game with no fans. I mean, it's just and a college football game without fans, which would even more dramatic.
Yeah, I think the good thing about those two sports is that baseball, you inadvertently have a lot of crowd shots, no matter where you're shooting.
Yeah.
Where football, you usually have to cut away to the crowd. Whereas we can stay on the field tight, we can stay in the huddle, we can stay on the sidelines, and never, we don't have to see too much. Now the sound part, yeah, that's going to be weird, but I guess it's the new world we live in. Like you said, basketball, I'm kind of looking forward to I remember the early Saturday morning first round of a basketball tournament, like a weekend one.
Yeah.
And there'd be one team, 11 parents in the stands, and it's because it's the 8 o'clock, you get the first, and you get the squeaky shoes, you can hear people talking, you hear the ball clanging on the backboard and the rim, I kind of like it.
I'm looking forward to watching a lot of really competitive basketball as people fight for their playoff spots.
Yes. And hopefully Russ is back from his COVID. And hopefully, Zion gets back for his personal issue and hope that works out, his family thing. Because it's not good to see.
No, and you know what? It's a great equalizer because anybody that was hurt or anybody that was dinged up has plenty of time to recover. And so, but you also had a lot of time to get rusty, and a lot of time to lose that team interaction and role that you have. So it's going to be, wide. To me, it's wide open. So is the NHL. They're both really wide open to me.
Yeah, as a Penguins fan, Gunsel's back, which is fantastic. But Crosby left the scrimmage in the second period and hasn't been playing since. So,
Did he get hurt or is he sick?
They aren't saying.
I'm not saying I think they're sick.
I think he might have got hurt, though, because he left in the middle of the second period. And he was playing well. He already had a goal and an assist. He was on the line with Connor and Sherry. They looked really good. Gunsel and Sherry, they looked great. But, yeah, he's been undisclosed since then. And again, when you're training at home, maybe you're not quite up to game speed. You go a little hard on that first practice. You pull something.
Yeah, could be.
And again, for goalies, if you were the hot goalie, playoff hockey's all about, goaltending, obviously. And if you were the hot goalie going into the end of the season, you're not hot anymore, presumably, if you've cooled off. Now, you can get it back, but it's going to be very interesting. And again, to see where history treats whoever wins these championships.
Well, conversely, the one sport I like better without fans is golf.
Huh.
Because I don't miss those morons yelling when somebody hits a tee shot, it's in the hole. And all that stuff. I don't miss that at all.
No, golf doesn't seem like you would miss it at all.
And in golf, you're focused on the players of the course anyhow. You're really not. The fans are behind the ropes, so they're there, they're not there, and they're usually not very loud unless it's the Waste Management Open in Phoenix.
Yeah, the Happy Gilmore tournament. They haven't quite pulled all the way through.
But I haven't got, the players I like to watch, like Ricky Fowler and those guys. They haven't done well, so I haven't watched a lot. I've watched like a day, and then I said, okay, I don't really care. And I don't really watch it all the way through. But we did watch the Pirate game all the way through. I watched Kyle Crick come in with a 3-0 lead and lose 5-3.
Good for him.
So everything's so predictable. I mean, that was the Pittsburgh paper. Kyle Crick comes in predictably, walks the first two guys. Next guy gets a hit, and then somebody hits an extra base hit, 3-run score.
And that's your ball game.
That's your ball game. But the Pirate pitching the starting pitching and the first three guys they had in looked really, really good. So I was encouraged by that. We'll see. You know, I love the Pirates, so I mean, I'll watch. They did play tonight in Cleveland.
I think,
But tonight, you know, I've had great TV because I've watched Perry Mason every Sunday night, which has been really good. Matthew Reeves has done a really good job playing that character. And now he's finally, you know, the fifth episode, he's going to be in the courtroom.
oh,
And it's kind of wild, Jason. You know, Perry Mason, you think, you know, he's at this law school. The way they did this, Matthew Reeves didn't even go to law school. But you can take the bar exam. And so the tutor is Hamilton Berger, who he's opposed with in 7 seasons on TV.
huh?
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's been a really good story. And then Alone in the Dark, the one about the serial killer,
Yeah, that's been really good.
that's been really good. And you know, it seems slow, but there's so much they cover, and they cover it with such depth that I'm okay with the speed of it.
Right, and they do a good job. You're learning about, you know, the victims and actually who they were. And then you're learning a lot about Michelle McNamara, who is the true crime podcast person, Patton Oswalt's former wife, who passed away, sadly.
And I decided Patton Oswalt was a great husband. That's what I got out of it so far.
He seems like
He's
it.
so amazingly supportive and did everything. So that's been enjoyable. And then last night, The Alienist started with Angel of Darkness, which is the second book. The Alienist is the first book. Angel of Darkness is the second book that Caleb Carr wrote. So I take that. I'm looking forward to that being my TV for tonight.
Nice. Well, I've been watching a lot of things, a lot of true crime this week. We watched The Innocent Man, which is the John Grisham
That was really well done.
6-part documentary based on his only nonfiction book he's ever written. And the quote, which is perfectly true, he's like, if I wrote this as a fiction book, it wouldn't hold up and you wouldn't believe it. You think I got lazy, which is true. It doesn't work. It's like you couldn't write this and be like, and now the lawyers are defending him. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But it's, you know, it's a little frustrating now, I suppose, because you're going to see some, you know, most likely corrupt DA sort of situation. But it's a really cool story, and in the 6 parts move really fast. And then we watched another very bizarre documentary called The Imposter. Are you familiar with this one?
Yeah.
So it's a family in Texas, a little bit on the rural side. We'll just leave it at that. Their 12-year-old disappears. No trace. Can't find him. And the whole thing is actually told through the imposter's story. There's a 23-year-old man in France who has a history of posing as a young teen on the street to get into youth hostels so he has a place to stay. He convinces them that he's an American, despite the fact that he's got the very French accent the entire time. You can't get rid of it. But he convinces these people to let him sit in the office by himself, and that he's going to call his parents back in America. He calls the FBI, finds out different kids that are missing, and he decides that he's going to be this kid who's now 16, would be 16, even though he's 23 and he's got like a thick beard. And what makes it crazy is everybody buys it, despite the fact that this kid is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. The French guy dyes his hair blonde, but he's part Nigerian, so he's also got like a really thick, every day gets like that dark black 12 o'clock shadow, 5 o'clock shadow. He has dark-colored eyes, which he told people that this sex cult that took him, who was they moved him around all the time. They dyed his eyes, which technically is possible, and that they kept moving him around city to city, and they told him he couldn't speak English, so he had to learn to speak French, which is why he has a French accent now. And his family completely takes him back in. And he's also now the tallest person by like a foot in the family. And the theory is, and this was his theory too, is that the family actually killed this kid. And they were forced to just sort of go along with this lie, because otherwise they can't be like, he's not our son. Our son, we killed him. But we don't actually get the full answer to that. But that's the theory behind it. But like when you're watching, like it's so absurd. You're like, what? Wait, how do you this person? Because again, if when you go back to Pittsburgh, like you slip into your Pittsburgh accent from time to time. Like the little words come out, and he can't speak without a French accent, despite growing up in Texas for 12 years. He's got different color eyes, different color hair, doesn't look like himself at all, and they totally bought. They went with the story. Pretty nuts. But there's a lot of really convenient. I feel like true crime. There's just so much of it on TV.
There's a lot. There's a ton of stuff.
You just can't move it. But I guess we're kind of in our entertainment field. I watched The Relic, or I think I know it's called Relic. I don't think it's The Relic. It's Relic. It's a 2020 movie from Australia. It claims what it does is it says it turns the haunted house film on its head. And it's really well acted. I don't want to give away too much, but it's about a missing grandmother who comes back to the house. And then it probably is more of a metaphor for dementia and Alzheimer's than it actually is anything horror. But there's a lot of really tense, scary moments. It's beautifully shot. It's really, really well done. So if you're looking for something scary for $6 to rent, it's definitely worth renting. So
that one, we talked about offline. That sounds pretty interesting to me.
It's really, really good. And it is a slow burn film. I know that's what people need to hear for now. If you're expecting it takes a long, you're slowly getting it and you get little moments of tension, but it's got that 70s sort of horror vibe, not the scary, gruesome, Last House on the Left, Texas Chainsaw, more the Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist, slow build, psychological sort of thing happening with it, which is really, really good. We also finished Scrubs, which I never watched. We watched all 9 seasons.
And?
I really enjoyed the first 8. Now, for me, it gets a little sappy from time to time. I like my sitcoms to be funny all the time, and if they're going to go in a direction, I don't mind if they go mean, more so than go sappy. And this will go sappy from time to time, but it's also very silly. But that last season, when you watch season 8, and I'm sure Scrubs people already know this, they shoot the finale. Like, they even show at the end, they're showing behind the scenes, and they're like, that's a series wrap on this actor. That's a series wrap. And a series wrap means you're done shooting for the entire series. And then they brought back part of the cast and they tried to introduce it looked like they were going to make Scrubs med school and try to introduce a new group of people. But that just rarely works.
Yeah. There's so few series that ended the way they should end. Or the greatest way they could end. I just finished watching The Republic of Doyle on Amazon Prime. And I really enjoyed it. And they asked them to come back and do a 7th season. And they said, no, the way we ended that season is the way we should go out. And we had a great time, and we're not going to string it along for the money. Nice. And I respect that. I mean, the way MASH ended, the way Cheers ended, the way the Bob Newhart show ended, there's a lot of Mary Tyler Moore show. There's a lot of great shows that had great endings. Or there's some great shows that had great endings, and there's others that just kind of leave you mystified.
And I think it's tough, too. What this one did is Perry Cox is sort of the older, sarcastic, really mean doctor on that show. And he was on the Scrubs 9th season, the med school season, but they also tried to include, like, a younger guy that was going to, like, had the same sort of sarcasm. And they tried to introduce, like, basically a female lead who was going to have the same weird visions. And it's sometimes when you're trying to replace an iconic person on the same show, you're better off taking a complete, if you were going to go right, just go left. Just a complete opposite person. There's another BBC show called Coupling, which had 3 great seasons, and the guy on there is absolutely hysterical. And he decided to leave. He didn't want to be pigeonholed as a comedy actor. And they brought somebody in to sort of be his character. Not him. They didn't replace, the actor with he was a new character, but they tried to make him fit those beats. And it just made you miss the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's like, fine, you lost him, you got to bring somebody in, then bring in somebody that's way different. Don't try to fill that gap. I know with the writers and everybody else, it's like, well, this is what people want. It's like, no, people are just going to miss the guy they liked. And now you're stuck with this person that's just a subpar version that just brings everybody else down. But still an enjoyable show. So, like I said, we've done a lot of quarantining TV. So,
well, I just started watching Lilyhammer, which takes Steven Van Zandt, who played Syl in The Sopranos, makes him a crime guy again in witness protection and sends him to Norway. And I get it. It might sound far fetched, but it's that comedy drama mix that really works. And so it's been really enjoyable to watch that and see him becoming like a mob guy in Norway and look at his crew that he puts together. It's just been kind of interesting and how he negotiates deals and gets things done. So it's been kind of amusing.
Very nice. Oh, and for my New Orleans people, I would say perhaps, and I've only been there once, so I don't want to, but it's certainly in the conversation of best barbecue in New Orleans. And on Jefferson Highway, there's a restaurant called Smoked. I had tried to go there a few times, and they didn't have the best hours. They have very limited number of hours they're open, but their food is absolutely phenomenal. Just so good. The ribs fall off the bone, but like very flavorful. Brisket had that nice black, crispy, delicious char, but then really soft in the middle. Excellent burn ends. I didn't try the pork. They also do salmon there on the grill.
Mama like that.
But Smoked on Jefferson Highway. I would definitely recommend calling before you go. Just because, like I said, in the last year I had tried to go a couple of times, and I was I'd show up when it said they were open and they weren't open. And obviously now during, quarantine pandemic time, it's even, you just never know what you're going to get. But their food was just really, really good.
Okay, Chase Jones. Jason just gave you another recommendation.
And I think they have 6 barbecue sauces. I tried 2 of them. I like the sweet and spicy one. And I told you offline that, I don't know if anyone else will know this, but Chili's has this Rojo sauce. I know we're not big Chili's fans here, but it's how would you say, like a tomatoey barbecue sauce, kind of hickory sauce for their burgers. And their hickory sauce tasted a lot like that to me. So
I will be all over it when I come to New Orleans.
And it's a small little place. I mean, I think, it's like at the end of a shopping center, so it's a very tiny little place. But like I said, food is just so good. But I have to see if they can be as consistent as the other.
Well, it's always the chore.
It is.
Can you deliver? Can you bring it every day?
And not everybody can.
No, that's a tough business to be able to do that.
It really, really is sad. And especially now. I mean, they said 1 in 4 New Orleans restaurants they think are going to close.
So Antonio Brown retired for the first time since he retired on September 22nd of last year.
And technically he retired via Twitter again. So
yes,
he has not filed papers with the league.
We don't know if he's filed papers or done anything else yet, but I saw some of his social media. He feels that the risk doesn't justify the reward anymore, and he's done all he can. I said to you offline, there's no way this guy is done because I know he doesn't have any money, and it's all about the money to Antonio Brown. And so if somebody will have him, he'll be back.
And I mean, that dude, like, he was working out with people a week ago. Like, he loves football. Like, he is a great receiver that works his butt off at the receiver position. And I know I saw him at some point during quarantine working out with 2 other receivers. So he's not acting like a guy in retirement. I don't know if he was just tweeting this out to be like, I'm still here, just in case somebody wants to know.
Football's all he's got.
Yeah. But I don't think, given that, we didn't really talk about the NFLPA and their demands on the NFL to, like, at least get some answers to these players about testing, the bubble, what happens when you catch it, what happens to the team, what is the quarantine, because it doesn't seem the NFL has any answers. And then the other thing is, if we start the season and the season ends after 3 games because of a giant outbreak, we hope it never happens, but they're asking that question, like, does this count as an accrued season for me? Or if the season's only 14 games, is this an accrued season? Like, am I putting myself at risk, and then I'm losing it, I'm not going to get my year free. I'm not working towards free agency or my next contract or whatever else. So
No, and one of the big items is if you catch COVID at training camp, right now it's classified as a non-football related injury.
Right.
And that's not going to wash. I mean, that is not going to be acceptable. There won't be, unless they get that resolved, there won't be any games played, trust me.
No.
There's no way the players are going to go for that, and they shouldn't. If you go there and you catch it as part of the routine because you're sweating on people working out and somebody gave it to you, that's a football-related injury. That's the same thing as just like a hamstring. You did it while you were in pursuit of what you do. I don't know. I didn't think they had a leg to stand on with that one.
No, and
You got to get them on that.
I understand that's what the accountants would tell you to do, but I just don't see if you're an NFL, like if you're an NFL team and you're thinking about, future free agents and, I know the NFL is not known to be the most player friendly, but you want to be that team that people look to.
Mm-hmm.
Then this seems like a dumb thing to push. Like it just, in the middle of all this stuff, like I know you're losing money and you're probably freaking out. You're a rich person and that's what rich people do when they lose money, but it just seems real not nice to even try to push that.
I'll tell you a game I would like to see played in the NFL this year, but we're not going to see it unless it gets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Would be the Buccaneers and the Patriots. Now, I would love to see that game.
Yeah, did you see Cam Newton speaking with our NFL? Did you see some of his comments?
Yeah.
He was on a podcast. He's like, they're replacing a dog. Everyone's going to, to be fair to the rest of the NFL, we got the COVID thing happening. A lot of teams already had a quarterback in place. You're coming off another shoulder injury, and people are saying that it's it might be, what is that word? That the shoulder's never going to get better officially. You're degenerative shoulder issue in the middle of a pandemic. So and again, I wanted the Steelers to grab him because I feel like he and Roethlisberger would have been probably enough to get through 16 games together, and just the value was real at the end. But I guess those are the things you have to say to an NFL player. But
well, I give him credit for ending up in the absolute right place for himself.
Yeah, you couldn't. And somebody else was talking about that too. Like, as much as you don't want to be the guy that would follow a Mike Krzyzewski or, a Nick Saban, you're also going into one of the best places in the world to go. You have the reputation, you're going to get the recruits, and know you're probably never going to get the love or admiration those guys get unless you somehow are able to, win that many championships and be that competitive. But at the same time, like, there you have a chance to really build, you might just be the next guy in the dynasty, but you have a chance to get all the players you need, all the things you want. Whereas if you go to a smaller school that never had that reputation, you could be out in 2 years, with a sub 500 record. So
all I'm going to say is Josh McDaniel got Tebow into the playoffs. He got into the playoffs with Tebow. I think he gets back in the playoffs with Cam Newton.
Yeah, and Cam Newton's already saying that, as much as he respects Tom Brady, you're going to be able to call things with Cam Newton you were never able to call with Tom Brady. So I don't know if he needed to say that, but, he put it out there. So good for him. It'll be, like I said, there's so many good storylines in the NFL this year. I really hope they're able to figure it out, and we're able to figure out,
Yep. Well, like I told you, I agreed to play fantasy football for the first time since we lived in Massachusetts. So I've played fantasy football in 18 years.
Well, despite the fact that we don't even know if there's a season, we had our draft, as I told you. I think I talked about it a little bit on air. And I have been I've been having to shove away all the dumb trades I've been offered again by, there's always that guy. And we have one of those in the league already. It keeps offering me, like, all of his, like, one good player and, like, 5 trash players for 2 of my best players. And he's like, you're getting more players. And I'm like, but I don't need more players. I was like, if anything I would do, the only kind of trade I want to do is where I'm getting less players. But,
Yeah.
That's the fantasy people.
I always liked playing fantasy football when I had Brett Favre. So I don't know who's going to be my replacement for Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Brett Favre was fun. It was fun every week, whether you threw 6 touchdowns or threw 6 picks.
Well, obviously, depending on the pick you get in the draft, if you're able to get a Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson. Now, I know Lamar Jackson's much less fun to root for because he is a Raven, but from a fantasy perspective, those are nice guys to have on your roster.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, everybody. Well, we're getting closer and closer. The baseball season will have started before our next show. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and we'll see where football is. And as we keep getting closer and closer, we'll have more and more sports. But we hope you've enjoyed the entertainment and the food.
And I'll keep trying to eat new places down here for our New Orleans audience. So remember, Smoked, Chase, go there.